You just give your question, okay?
My name is Korea, and I would like to ask, what would your advice or your response be to someone who says they don't want to vote because it's not just about, in presidential elections, because of the electoral college instead of just the popular vote? And they say, oh, well, my vote doesn't matter because it's not even the popular vote, it's the electoral college, and my vote, my state doesn't have a large number, so I'm just not going to vote. I don't know, small state. Oh, no.
Let's answer the question.
You guys can start whichever way, whoever feels comfortable.
So I guess I hear that actually from a lot of people, especially a lot of people who are millennials like myself. I usually just kind of tell people, yeah, the electoral college sucks. We do need reform. But we're not going to get reform until we're activated in the process. And there are so many other things that happens on the ballot, like she was talking about, that actually matters. I always tell people, you want your trash picked up, you got to vote for people who will make sure the trash is going to be picked up. When you're thinking about people who are put into the prison school pipeline, those people who are saying, hey, this is how much they're getting on bail, this is what their sentencings are, we actually elect them or we're appointing the person who are putting that type of power in place. So if we want to debunk the power or we want to restructure it, we have to be a part of that power to deconstruct from the inside. So I kind of talk about those narratives of why it's actually still important to be engaged, even though we do have different systems in our country that can say, hey, popular vote doesn't matter, but electoral college votes matter. But those folks don't get those electoral college votes until we actually kind of put them there. So there's a whole process of why we need to be still activated, and then why we need to hold them accountable on how they vote. So I used to be a community organizer, and in my head I still am. So I enjoy things like, I'm gonna show up where you are. Like if I didn't like the way you vote, I'm gonna let you know I didn't like it, and this is why, because it's impacting me and my community, and I'm accountable to the people that I represent and the people who put me in place to do what I need to do. So, yeah.
I'd also said, well, so last week I was in Illinois and I actually got caught up in a debate about this with an adult, and it went nowhere. So sometimes I say first, making sure the person that you're talking to is willing to listen to everything else, because sometimes they're so stuck on this one thing that the conversation won't go anywhere. So I'd suggest, in addition to what she said, maybe trying to pivot overall. Finding an issue that is really local, that in some way might affect them or affect the people around them, and switching it, right? Focusing on that one thing, and how the people that are on the ballot this November are going to make decisions that affect this one thing. It might work.
I think it's an excellent question you proposed to the group. Being a local politician, I tell folks all the time, politics is local. Folks always think about the president election, which is very important as well, but the local election is more important. That's affecting you every day. Like the young lady said about your trash being picked up, the potholes in your street, the protection you get from the police department, all these things affect the person like every day. How many businesses coming to your neighborhood, what type of business is coming to your neighborhood, that's why you vote. So if you don't vote for the right people, then you can have all kinds of things coming to your neighborhood. You might not want in your neighborhood certain things. So voting is very important. If the person don't vote, they're not participating in the process. So therefore, they really don't have nothing to complain about. So that's why I tell folks really, I say, if you don't vote, you have nothing to complain about. Because when you vote, you have a choice in electing people that can do the work for the city, represent you. So I think that's...
Thank you guys so much for that. So I have a question actually that I want to pose that I have been curious about for a while. So oftentimes we as the youth attend a lot of these where adults who are involved in politics tell us, why it's important to vote. But a question that I feel oftentimes goes unasked is, how do you pick who to vote? So what factors tie into which candidate you're choosing?
I think I can answer the question. Once again, that's a very important question. So many people are going to tell you they're going to do this, they're going to do that, and that's true. But the way the process works, you got to trust that individual. For example, I'll give you an example. On September 5th, I presented my first piece of legislation in the state of Laurel. In the state of Maryland, we can set the voting age whatever age we want to. So the idea age is 16 and 17 years old to vote based on the confidence level of 16, 17-year-old person. So I present that legislation, but you have 5 members on the council. So I need a majority vote to win. That's it. They didn't win. They only passed. Only 2 people voted for it. So I got to rework it. So I got to organize again and come back out. So you basically have to trust that person, give that person a chance, because once that person gets in office, he or she is going to push that legislation and hopefully get passed. If it don't get passed, he or she can come back to you and say, you know what, I need another chance to run for this office because this is what I'm trying to do. If you believe in me, you support me, you help me organize, get people to register like you guys are doing today. So basically, make a long story short, it basically comes down to trust. Everybody's going to promise you every day in the world, but they cannot do that unless they have a majority vote. But the most important thing, once again, is to trust that individual.
I think that when I'm choosing, so this is me putting on my C4 hat, so this is not a force when you're still resident of law, I have to say that. So when I think about who I vote for, I look at their platforms, and like I said, I don't mind showing up and running up on people and be like, hey, you said you were going to do this, what happened to that? So I'm all about the accountability process of what they say they're going to do and why we got them elected. And then also working hand in hand with them to say, hey, they have this legislation they want to push through with the community. How do we help make that happen? How do we join together to make sure that we can get these things in place and make sure that you actually can be able to vote in local municipality elections, because y'all voices matter. So I'm one of those people who's like, I'm gonna run up on you, and I'm also gonna help you organize and make sure that we can get this done together.
I also just say if it's an incumbent, so someone who's been, who served in the role before or who served in office, making sure you go back and take a look at their voting record. Right, again, a lot of times their platform is very vague, where they say they support X thing, but then they're in office and they're voting against it. So just making sure you're taking the time, if you know how, to go find where they actually stood on certain issues when they came up. And if you are a wonk, right, go look at their campaign finance records. Go look and see where their money is coming from. It'll give you a better idea of why they're not actually able to make the decisions that they said they would in the beginning. And I'd also echo it's called bird dogging. I'm someone who will show up at every candidate forum, and I will ask the same question over and over again. And it's for 2 reasons, right? One, I want to see if you're going to change. You change your position, right? You were just kind of giving me a vague answer. But 2, it's having you on record in multiple different places. I think, again, I'm going to be able to go back later on and hold you accountable to what you said at 7 different forums.
Do each of you remember the first time you voted?
Yes. So, okay. I registered to vote. I'm from Georgia, so I registered to vote when I was 17 and a half. I registered through the post office because we only had like paper registrations then, and it was May 23rd, 2004 actually. And I was super excited. So happily, my birthday happens after Election Day. So in 2004, I went to the polls, and as someone said, oh, I helped my family vote. So I helped my great aunts vote because they were in wheelchairs, and we were at a precinct, and we were in line, and basically they were saying, oh, well, it's closed. And I'm like, wait, no, it's not. We've been here. I know the law. And they're like, who is this little girl talking to us this way? I'm like, me. And so we called a hotline. The 866 hotline, and volunteers came and they actually helped. And so happily, I work for that hotline now. But that was my first experience with kind of really understanding the why and how things happen with voting. But then the next year, I went away to college and I was able to vote for our mayor, Shirley Franklin, during that election. But my first experience being able to be a part of the process or advocating through the process was in 2004 presidential election.
I'm trying to remember. I think the first time I voted by mail. But the first time I went in person, I remember just feeling really overwhelmed. Like the process was easy by mail because I knew where I stood and I went ahead and made my decisions. But when I went in person, there were so many people at the polls. And I know it's the same in Prince George. In fact, I think it's even more overwhelming here in PG. People set up tables outside of polls and all of that. But I just remember questioning all of the decisions that I thought were best because everyone was coming at me all at once and handing me sample ballots and all of that. I do think I actually decided to vote differently on some candidates, but I'd say from then on, I just made sure that I always go in with my own, piece of lit, and that I don't just go by these sample ballots because there's so many of them that a lot of times you'll change. If you're like me at that age, I changed in my mind.
Wow, that's a good question. So, tell my age. I think the first time I voted, it was 1988. I was in the Navy, and I think I voted absentee ballot. I think the president was, the candidate was George Bush, first Bush, and Walter Mondale. Yeah, so I was on the ship, I voted absentee ballot. And also, I was the political registration person for my ship. So I was like, 19 at the time, so.
Any other questions?
Do you believe that the national voter age should be lowered?
I do. I think it's 18 now, but definitely 17. Based on the research that we have, that 17-year-olds can make confident decisions. Plus, you can 17 years old, you can get a job, you can work, you can drive, you can do all the things an 18-year-old can do. I don't think there's much different in mentality between a 17-year-old and 18-year-old, me personally. So, plus we want to encourage young folks to vote. When I say more people, let me back up a little bit. In 2004, from 18, not 2004, 2014, from 18 to 24 was the lowest voting turnout we had in any presidential election. So therefore, that's why I'm a big advocate for getting young folks to vote. So at 17, what are we hurting? We're not hurting anything. We allow young folks to vote at 17 years old. So yeah, I'm in full support of that. If you're in full support of that, you got to contact your representative for your state. Was Anthony, our representative in Prince George County, the district you're in is Anthony Brown. He's the congressperson, Anthony Brown. So what he does, congressperson, he can put legislation to the United States Congress, and they can vote on that law and get that changed. So you see Anthony Brown in the community, you walk up to him and say, Mr. Brown, I'm in support of lowering the voting age, the national voting age is 17, and I got 5,000 signatures. And I want you to put that legislation to the United States Congress. See what he said.
I totally agree with that. Echoing everything he said. I don't think that we should have to wait until we're 18 to be able to vote. I do think it should be lower because we do speak for ourselves and we speak for our community, and we're actually well informed. And for people to think that we're not because we're not 18, I think that's kind of ridiculous.
This is a common cause going on record. I would say 16. I think you guys should be allowed to vote, right? Because you guys are working in the polls at 16 years old already, meaning that you understand what is happening in that space. I guess my suggestion would be, if you really want the Maryland legislature to move on this, especially knowing that they can't see you guys during the day because you guys are in school when they're in session and when a lot of the committees are meeting. But I'd say sending them letters, meeting with local, maybe Delegate McCray would be a good place to start. Not Delegate McCray, oh my God. Delegate Jazz Lewis, meeting with them, expressing that this is something that you'd like to advocate for and seeing what local delegate or senator would introduce a bill and move from there. But I think they need to hear more from young people saying that they want the age lowered before they actually really consider it.
I just want to follow up on this. In the state of Maryland, like I said earlier before, the state of Maryland except Baltimore City, the municipalities can set the vote age, what age they like. I said ideal age is 16 and 17, but it's only for local election. So that's by city council members. So whatever city you live in and you want to vote in local election, go down to your next city hall meeting, sign your name on the roll, because you have 3 minutes to speak, and you can go on record and you can tell those council members that, you know, I want to vote. Tell them why you want to vote. But in the state of Maryland, that's the law, except for Baltimore City. You can, your local city council can set the voting age for you guys to vote. But like I said, the national, that's different. You got to get that passed by the United States Congress. So your Congress representative has to put that to the United States Congress to vote on it, to change from 17 to 18. So I just want to bring that point home because you guys are Student Government Association. So when you go back to school, you can tell your peers, you know, we can vote in the state of Maryland at 16 if the city council passed legislation to do that. If they want to do that, then y'all organize like you guys are doing now and present that information to your city council with your parents as well. So make sure you get your parents involved because your parents, they do vote. And having that support from your parents and your church members, things of that nature. It's all about mobilization. That's all it is. Once you organize, that's how you can tell, picking an individual you want to vote for, how active they are in the community. You know, so that's one that should put that piece, drill that piece home to you all.
And I think there is one city, I don't know about others, I think in Montgomery County, I believe it's Rockville maybe, where 16-year-olds are able to vote on local elections. Tacoma Park.
Yeah, Hyattsville and Prince George County, Greenbelt and Prince George County, and Mont Rainier just passed it this June of 2018. And Tacoma Park actually was the first city in the United States to allow 16-year-olds to vote. And then came, I think, Hyattsville, Greenbelt followed, and Mont Rainier. So hopefully Laurel will be coming right behind that in Prince George County.
College Park. Yep. College Park.
Yeah, I don't know if it's more of a question or a comment about the way we do things in Prince George's County. I personally have always felt that a large portion of voting, of voter knowledge, of voter information comes from your government class in high school. I don't know about everyone else, but my AP government teacher was very strong in making us understand the role that we play when it comes to voting. And how what we have to say matters and what our opinion is. He's one of the best, in my opinion, at doing that. We actually had to study the elections that were taking place. We had to study the campaign habits of the people who are running for office. So I think that a large portion of that comes from education. I personally feel that the only way that I would be comfortable with us lowering the age, it would be if I become an older person. Would be if you place more emphasis on voting in our AP government, in our government classes, period. A lot of government is caring. People automatically assume government is about the history of government, where we started. A lot of government is things that are taking place right now. History is being made in this moment through government. So I think that's a large portion of what we are doing here today, and our message across is to transcend that is something big. So if you guys, I don't know if you guys feel the same or feel about that, something large.
So when I was in high school, I was an IB kid, or IB geek, or my dad's like, y'all were IB lab rats. So with my schooling, we had the same thing where we studied like campaigns, we studied election habits, and we studied it internationally to be like, okay, well, something's wrong with the system that we definitely have in Georgia because it's really a cluster, a lot of things. Just bad. So we were able to do that, but I do think that that speaks to privilege and access as well in the educational system, that my learning and what I was able to gain from the type of school I went to, every school should have that, and that comes upon people going to advocate in their state legislature and say, hey, why is our education standard across the board? Why are we doing this elitist privilege stuff here when it comes to the access that people have to knowledge? So that's like my take on it.
I agree with you, actually. I was born and raised in Jersey. I grew up in a horrible school system in Asbury Park. And I think our passing grade was like 57, right? So social studies, any political class, we learned nothing. And I found that it was in college that I was kind of trying to catch up to everyone else who grew up in better school systems. So I agree with you. I do think even in my work in Maryland and engaging with adults, I find people who don't understand what local government does, right? How these different positions affect their day-to-day lives. I don't know if the school systems, though, or the teachers have the capacity to do all of that, though. I think there's room for improvement, but I think this is where, right, organizations like mine need to step up a bit and go into school systems and provide some additional free trainings or something like that. But I think it's the teachers here already take on so much that I'm not sure they can take on a million more other things.
I would never disagree with education and school system, but as a politician, I would say I want people to have access to be able to vote, and it's my job to reach those individuals. So I know that 17-year-olds can vote. It's my job to go out there and engage them, find out where they hang out at, what they want, things of that nature. So, because once again, we want people participating in the process. The more people participate in the process, the more we can hold our government officials accountable. Right now, a lot of people don't participate in the process, and that's why things get unaccountable. Things just go on, and the business is normal because people don't get engaged. And so we're in the crisis right now. The people need to be engaged in the process, and bringing them in early at 17. I'm not against 16. I just push 17 for the city of Laura because I figure that we can vote in a primary election at 17, as long as you're 18, the vote count for the primary election. That's in the county executive we just had. So more education here, great, but getting people access to vote is important. Then it's the candidate to go out and reach those individuals.
Thank you. So, if that's all for questions, I want to give our panelists a wonderful congratulations. Thank you guys so much for coming out. We appreciate